Hi everyone, it's great to be here, and thank you to Sal and Mahesh and the EV3 team for organizing such a great event. I'm personally very excited about a lot of what's happening in DePIN, and this is an excellent opportunity to get to meet a lot of people in person that I've had the fortunate opportunity to talk to on Zoom and on the internet. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about why I think verification is, at least in my opinion, the problem that has the greatest delta between importance and current focus. And so I work as one of the investors at A16Z Crypto, and my interest in DePIN goes back to when I was working for Protocol Labs trying to build decentralized internet service provider infrastructure, and also when I was part of the crypto startup school that our team ran a couple years back. And that project, as you can probably tell by my current job, failed. That helped me get a sense and understanding for why actually changing core parts of the internet and a lot of what the decentralized wireless folks here are doing, I think is actually really important, and talk a bit about why verification seems to really be the big challenge. And so I'll provide, I guess first, none of this is legal tax or investment advice, a very oversimplified model of how I think all blockchains or crypto networks are working today. You have some client that wants to request a service from a provider. And in the traditional world, this is very simple because the client talks to the provider, and the provider returns to them some response, and if the client doesn't like the response, then they go get the same service from a different company. But all of a sudden, if you throw some network in between, and it's not simply peer-to-peer, but you have a peer-to-pool or a peer-to-network model, you have to be able to adjudicate disputes between the client and the provider. So if the client says, for example, I would like to store some files, and the network picks a provider to store those files, but the provider does not in fact store the files, then the client has to have a way to dispute that and to prove to the network that the files were stored or were not stored. And importantly, I think this is often a challenge because there are a lot of benefits to having a network mediate the client and provider relationship. One being a very simple user experience. I think we saw this with things like Uniswap, where having a peer-to-pool model was, at least in my opinion, a lot of the initial interest there. And then second, having a network-based model allows you to incentivize provider capacity before there are a lot of clients on the network. And we've seen this work quite well in bootstrapping the supply side of the market for a lot of the most popular DePIN projects today. And so if you're having a network model where the client is requesting services from a network broadly, instead of from a provider directly, then the service provider has to be able to prove to the network that they're actually providing the service. And so I've talked a little bit about this, but I think there's an open question of why decentralized verification matters. A lot of DePIN projects today have a bunch of different reasons for existing, and one of the common ones is that you can lower the upfront capital expenditure to deploy a new physical network of hardware to create a data set, for example. But I think there are a lot of benefits to decentralized networks broadly outside of the context of literally running a blockchain. And the one that I think is most important is creating a trustless marketplace where different teams can build businesses on top of that marketplace and compose with each other. Almost the idea of permissionless innovation being the crucial unlock for crypto, not necessarily censorship resistance or money, but the idea that anyone, anywhere in the world can build on top of these networks and leverage them, I think is perhaps the most interesting component and one that we don't talk about as much.